video, I'm going to give 8 verses that show why Bishop Zondo's theology about how he reacts when people say that he has witchcraft and whatnot, how he reacts to it. If you didn't see yesterday's video, this is the particular point before I give you the 8 verses and the breakdown for them. Someone, he was with someone, and the person said something about one pastor he knows.
With this person, they spoke something about this pastor.
And the person said, you know, don't tell me the way Zondo is a witch or something like that.
I said, God, if I'm there, let it be proved. I want to prove that I'm that one. I want to see.
So he says to God, God, bewitch the person. It's the reality show with daily Christian commentary videos. On this particular episode, that's the subject. This video is sponsored by RA, and this channel, as a matter of fact, they are a Bible supplier. And so if you're looking for a Bible, do holler at them. Tell them what particular one you're actually looking for, and I will see you over there. Now, the verses that I'm talking about here, I said there's 8 of them. So I'm going to just give them to you as we go here. Verse number 1, straight into it, is John chapter number 7, verse 18. This is what it says. It says, the one who speaks on his own authority seeks his own glory. This is after they came to Jesus and they said that he speaks of himself. He says, no, if you guys, you do that. But for me, I don't do that. I speak of the glory of my Father. But if I do so, anybody that does so, they do so to their own glory. But the one who speaks to the glory of him who sent him is true, and in him there is no falsehood. And so when we speak under the authority of God, there is foundation on the basis of what he says. So I can confirm whether God has actually said or sent you with a particular message. So when you say that God told you, you turn around and say to God that to bewitch people, I know that that's not a message from him that you sent you, God, being God. So unless who sent you is a different person, I don't know. You can decide that one by yourself, okay? At the end of the day, biblically, I don't see that as a biblical being. Okay, and the other verses will go on to describe why that. So that part there, the one who speaks on his own authority seeks his own glory. When Bishop Zondo says he will draw the line, and anybody that crosses will get in trouble, he speaks of his own glory. So that's how we know that Bishop Zondo is not speaking of God. So First John chapter number 7, verse number 18. Exposes that point. Verse number 2, okay, would be James chapter number 1, verse 19 to 20. This is what it says. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, let no one be swift. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Meaning have self-control. So for him to go from anger and insults and then claim, oh yeah, this is the character of a child of God, that's not likely, because there's no self-control in your first statement, so it's kind of off. But remember, be slow, let every man be swift to hear, so quick to listening, but slow to speaking and slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. So this verse here shows what we were describing in the first video, where we said the anger that he displays does not display the righteousness of God. And so that verse right there, James chapter number 1, 19 to 20, shows you that, in case you thought what I was saying was not in the biblification. Now the next one is Matthew chapter number 12, verse number 35. This is what it says. It says, a good person out of the good treasures bringeth forth, okay, bringeth forth good, and the evil person out of the evil treasures bringeth forth evil. So basically, who you are inwardly, whether you are saved or you are not saved, he says he's been saved for over 30 years, so by now the fruit should show. But we only see this type of evil cursing words and whatnot, so we have to question whose glory do you seek according to the previous verses that we spoke about. Verse number 4, okay, the 4th verse here, Hebrews chapter number 3, verse 10 up until 12. This is what it says. Therefore, I was grieved with that generation, said, they do always err in their hearts. So the heart there that we were speaking about in Matthew chapter number 12, they err. Where? It starts here in the heart. It says, they have not known my way. If they had known my way, if Bishop Zondo knows God's way, he would not be saying that anybody that crosses his line will get in trouble. Okay? You are not God. Like the verse that we read earlier on, your wrath, according to James chapter number 1:19, does not worketh righteousness. And so they don't know my ways. And so I swear my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. I have to question whether Bishop Zondo has come to salvation or is saved. Because if, according to Hebrews chapter number 3, Bishop Zondo has come into the rest of the Lord, you'll rest in God's judgment about certain things, and not try to scare people off because if they cross your line, that's not biblical. Leave that one. Okay? Yes. Like I said, like we stated earlier on in the earlier verse, okay? Our authority is Scripture. Our foundation is Scripture. When one person deviates from Scripture, we rebuke you by Scripture. Scripture says, okay? You speak of your own glory, drawing the line and saying if anybody crosses, no, that's your glory. It has nothing to do with God. And remember, James chapter number 1:19 up until 20, your wrath does not worketh up until towards righteousness. So remember, he says, chapter number Hebrews 3, Anker. Yeah, it says, I have sworn in my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. Take heed, this is the part that I wanted. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief. When a person disbelieves the Scripture as it is, now he doesn't say it's just disbelief, he says he calls it evil. Okay? In departing from the living God. How? By departing from the characteristics of what makes or what we see from God. We should take heed in that particular place, he says in Hebrews chapter number 3. Next verse, 1 Peter chapter number 3, verse 8 up until 10. He says, finally, all of you have unity in mind, sympathy, and brotherly love. You wouldn't be cursing people, thingy, and mothers and parents. A tender heart and a humble mind, meaning to receive. Do not repay evil with evil, or reviling for reviling. If people are cursing you, you shouldn't be displaying that, okay? But as I've stated, I haven't seen anybody cursing Bishop Zondo by his whatnot and all that kind of stuff. But on the contrary, bless, for to this you were called, to this, meaning you must recognize where you are, that you may obtain the blessed. And whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. So it is deceitful for one to claim that he is speaking to God, that God must curse. It is deceit. It's not scriptural. And by cursing them and saying that God must bewitch them, you are speaking evil, which the Bible forbids us to do in 1 Peter 3, 8 up until 10. So, in case someone thought my rebukement was, it's very much biblical. The third verse here, I have very little time. Load shedding is about to hit. 1 Peter chapter number 3, verse number 10. It says, for whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. That's the verse that I just read as well. So, okay, now that's verse number 3. Okay, so I have 7 verses actually. Okay, my bad. I don't know why I wrote the other one as separate. But I wanted to note that evil deceit part. Ephesians chapter number 4, verse number 29. It says, let no corrupt talk come out of your mouth. So the words that Bishop Zondo was speaking about God cursing, that is corrupt talk, as you might put it. Let it not come out of your mouth. He says, but only such as is good and building and uplifting, that it might give grace to those that hear. The words that Bishop Zondo was giving, there is no grace in it. You hear judgment. I'm judging. Bishop Zondo is saying that he's going to, it will cause problem for the other person to contradict him, basically. That's not grace. There is no grace in his word. And for that reason, we know, because there is no grace, we know that there is no God in it. And so to claim that unto God, for me, that's a little bit of a stretch. The next verse, which is the last verse, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, it says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Okay, when you were saying that people shouldn't go to what, because only they should come to church. It is through the cravings that some have wandered from the faith. Money can corrupt to a point where you go into your own direction, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many. So these verses show you how a person comes to speaking the way Bishop Zondo was speaking. And these 8 or 7 verses that I've highlighted here, I hope they do help building your understanding around why you can't speak like that and be a man of God. I'll leave that video down in the description below if you haven't seen it. We don't speak like that as believers. So I don't know what he was talking about. They're saying that God should bewitch people. You can't speak like that of God. And I hope it's clear in these verses. It's Ricky. I'll see you on the next episode. Subscribe to the channel if it's the first time. And let's keep on in God.